What's poppin', guys? Welcome back to GardenStateBBQ. My name is Julian Araujo, and today we're going to be making a pistachio crusted rack of lamb. Stay tuned. There's so versatile. Grill. Secret weapon. Speed things up. Alright. Of course, the top rack. Put her down. And a turnip. So when you buy them at the supermarket, they have like a purple top. They're a little bit, they're fairly big. Some can be, larger, softball size, and obviously some smaller. They have a white colored flesh. I'm actually more used to, my wife's grandparents during the holidays, they'll do a mashed rutabaga, which is very similar in appearance but smaller, and it's got a more orange colored, yellowish colored flesh. But for today, what we're going to do with these is, I've already peeled them. We're going to go ahead and we're going to be putting them in an aluminum foil pouch with some shallots, some garlic, olive oil, salt, and pepper, and we're going to throw that on the egg while the lamb is roasting, and yeah, let that stuff soften up to make that puree later. So let's cube this up. Chop this end off here. You don't want to cut this down into a size that's going to allow for it to, soften in a reasonable amount of time, right? So the goal ultimately is to puree it, so something like that, All right, let's get this in I said aluminum foil pouch, but you know what? I'm going to get a half aluminum tray because we have quite a bit here, and we'll season it once it's in there. All right, next order of business. Let's get some shallots peeled up. Again, not concerned about the size that we cut these in because it's all going to get pureed at the end anyway. Yeah, like I said, real rough chop. Something like that. I have to get me a taller worktop. Being bent over at table height versus countertop height, even for moments at a time, is absolutely brutal. So that's coming in the near future for sure. Lastly, some garlic, 6 cloves maybe, the turnips. So, and with these guys, that's all I'm gonna do. Just give them a nice solid smash. We have our turnip mixture. Gonna go in now with some olive oil, salt, and I'm not worried about having the seasoning be spot on at this point because we are gonna puree it, add butter and whatnot. Get it covered up and ready to go out in the pit. This is an acorn squash. All right, so for this acorn squash, we're gonna keep it real nice and simple. Just gonna slice off the bottom and the top half, all right? And then I'm just gonna follow these ribs, okay? And then I will just simply carve out, either with the knife or, if you want to have a cleaner, something like this. Yeah, probably be easier with a spoon. You get a nice clean kind of carve out versus this kind of jagged one. Same result, just a slightly different effort, that's all. All right, for this acorn squash, we're gonna lay them out on this aluminum foil lined sheet pan. Okay, olive oil. Nice. Slight bit of heat. A little bit of chipotle infused salt. Shout out to the Killer Cook. Hit it off with a little bit of freshly grated nutmeg. Freshly cracked black pepper. Hang on to your seats, folks. A little Chinese 5-spice. Now, you got ginger, you got star anise giving you that kind of licorice flavor. Again, this is a bit of a fall recipe, but we're talking real minute. You're not going to go super heavy with this. It's got ginger in it. It's going to give it a nice little flair here. Okay. And we're going to finish it off with a little drizzle of honey. We'll give this a mix. I don't want to get my hands all nasty for this one, so well, I shouldn't say nasty, but I don't want to get honey and then have to go wash my hands and you know the deal. Incorporate all those ingredients. All right, let's get them out on the egg. And we're gonna slide that on in. Beautiful. Someone let me know, these YouTubers or anybody in general, what are they doing? Changing their shirts every 5 minutes when they're cooking out in the summertime? I'm always sweating. Anyway, time to get to the star of the show, and that's that rack of lamb. Let me show you guys what we're gonna do with that. And it's actually gonna start with roasting off, or pan toasting, I should say, some pistachio. We'll pull them off. All right, let me show you what we're doing with this rack of lamb. I have here a rack of lamb that I purchased from Costco. This is an Australian product, so it is going to be a grass-fed product. Granted, this is the first time that I've ever cooked a rack of lamb. I'm going to be doing it in a manner that a lot of people do it in, with the pistachio crust. All right. And what I want to do is, so from what I could see, this is very thin in through this portion of the bone here down to the base of the eye of the meat. So for mainly presentation purposes, I'm gonna further French these down to a lollipop style. So we're gonna be eating a portion of it that's only about this big. So I'm gonna clear all this stuff out of the way in between the bones and further French them down. So getting rid of just this portion. So as you could see, not a whole lot of meat here that I'm getting rid of, mostly fat. Now you could really go crazy, and pull the membrane, clear off the bones, and have a little bit of a cleaner bone like this guy right here. You don't have to go to the extent that you're cleaning the bone off this much, but you certainly can. Eliminate some of this fat off the surface here. Not all of it, because I am in the part of the team that fat is in fact flavor. Another big thing I'm a proponent of is the use of butcher's twine when trying to maintain a certain shape. If I'm doing a rib roast and I have on a ribeye, a rib roast, a beef rib roast, and I want those bones Frenched, I'm always gonna, I like to truss the body of the roast to give it a nice uniform shape. And I'm going to do the same thing with this rack of lamb, because I want it to have a nice cylindrical round shape while it cooks, and then when I slice it, hopefully it maintains that, and for me it gives it a nice presentation. That's what we're going to do next. Look at that, guys. Look how beautiful that is, giving it a nice round shape. That's gonna come out beautiful. Let's season this thing up with salt to start, and we're gonna sear it off on the stainless pan, because then we want that fond to build. I would sear it off on charcoal, but I want some of the lamb flavor to stick to the bottom of the stainless pan, because we're gonna use that to build a nice kind of you know, a reduction, a wine reduction sauce. So yeah, let's get this seasoned up with salt. Not a tremendous amount of salt, because we will be hitting it with a rub. We're gonna be coating this bad boy with some mayo as a binder, hitting it with a rub, covering it with that pistachio crust. So let's get it seared off. Sear this rack of lamb off. Let's go down with a little avocado oil on our rack in here. Make sure we get all the sides here. Man, that smells good. All right. We'll pull this guy off to rest, but that's what it's looking like. A nice little hard sear on it. All right, let's make our pistachio crust. Starting with our pistachios. Some garlic. I'm gonna go in with some herbs, starting with some fresh oregano, some fresh thyme, parsley, and that's what we've got. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do here is coat our rack of lamb with a mayo binder with a little bit of my AP. Give us nice flavor. This nice toasty crust. And there you have it, folks. A beautifully crusted rack of lamb. Oh yeah. Squash is done. Nice and soft, tender. Pull this off. Give that a good shake. See what oh yeah. That's getting nice and soft too. Nice color to it. A little char. A little roasting action. We're gonna leave that in there. Front of it here. Trying not to disturb that crust in any way. Allow it to set, and we'll shut this down. Alright, so for this pan sauce, bring the thyme in there, in the pan that we seared the lamb off on. Press some garlic in there, just a little bit, not enough. To that, a little bit of red wine. Also a little bit of balsamic vinegar. The sauce has reduced down a little bit. Throw a little bit of butter in there. We'll just let this combine, and then we'll pull it off, and I'm going to run it through a tight strainer. Turnip mash going. Take our roasted turnips, and we're going to just mash that up. Let's get a slightly smaller bowl going, or bigger bowl rather. Butter. Go with some Parmesan cheese. All right, our rack of lamb has had time to rest. I pulled it off about 130 internal. Got a beautiful crust on it. First one's gonna be a thick boy. Woo. Juicy. All right, let's plate this dish on up. That's what it looks like. Let's taste it. That's what it's looking like. That's what that's looking like. Cheers. Tender, excellent. That pan sauce, the tanginess really combats that. I don't even think I grabbed the spoon for the turnip puree. That's why you have the rack of lamb for. You just use it as a spoon, you know. Easy. Again, the turnip has a slightly bitter note to it, and the texture of it is less like a rutabaga where you get that potato type feel, and more of like a mashed cabbage type feel. But great fall dish, which is right around the corner. This acorn squash, super soft. Just eat it right off the skin there. I mean, it did kind of flake off when I sliced it, but give that a go. Another one in the books, guys. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, as always. If you guys aren't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell so you guys know when I'm posting new videos. Like this post, share this post, save it. With that being said, guys, I will see you on the next one.